Hey there, and welcome to another Health Essentials podcast. I'm John Horton, your host. The term low-impact cardio sounds like a misnomer. We're talking about heart-pounding exercise, after all. Can you really do that in a way that's easy on your body? The answer is yes, and doing so may be more beneficial for you in the long term than always pushing ahead with high-impact activities. So what exactly qualifies as low-impact cardio? We're going to sweat out those details today with exercise physiologist Katie Lawton. She is one of the many experts at Cleveland Clinic who join us weekly on the podcast to talk health. Now let's get started on a fitness conversation that promises to be, well, impactful. Welcome back to the podcast, Katie. I think this is what's known as doing repeat sets in the exercise world.
Well, thanks for having me back, John.
Well, we've got you here with us today to talk about low-impact cardio. So for those who aren't familiar, what exactly is that?
It's a cardiovascular exercise that just involves movements that are easier on the joints.
Okay. So you're getting, in cardio is the, the heart thumping, the boom, 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 where you're really working it hard.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to scare people too much, but, even moderate intensity would be, considered, cardiovascular exercise as well. It doesn't have to be anything high intensity unless you choose to do high intensity. But yeah, I mean, something that's going to get your heart rate up to at least a moderate intensity.
All right. We can slow down that boom, 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 boom a little bit. I think is what you're telling me. So let's talk about the importance of doing cardio. I know everything you hear is that, you need at least, I think it's 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity cardio. Why is that so essential for our health?
It's cardiovascular disease prevention. The American Heart Association came up with 150 minutes, primarily because they found that if you can maintain that, you can reduce your chance of cardiovascular disease by 30%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good odds if you put a little work in.
Correct. Right. Again, the consistency piece is a big factor into that, right? So if you're doing here and there, it doesn't impact your health nearly as much. But if you're consistent with it, yeah, you'll see some major changes, cholesterol, coronary artery disease, high blood pressure. Those are the general things that the cardiovascular exercise will impact.
Yeah. Well, and I think we all, forget, your heart is a muscle. So when you force it to work a little harder doing these cardio exercises, it gets stronger.
Making it strong, but you're also, it's also pushing the blood through your system, right? So it's also helping with the vascular system as much too. So there's, that's where, again, the blood pressure comes into play as well.
All right. So clearly we want to do cardio, and it sounds like low impact is going to be a lot easier on all the other parts of your body, all your joints, your ankles, your knees, all those sort of things.
Correct.
But I want to make sure to emphasize here, low impact should not be confused with being easy, correct?
Correct. And, anything is easy if you want to make it easy, and it's how hard you generally push yourself. Right. So there are a lot of low impact options that really can have a big effect on your cardiovascular system. So, really kind of ramping up your heart rate if you really want it to, or if you wanted to take it easier, essentially, as far as the pace goes, you can slow down, which will make it a little bit easier on your cardio, on your heart and lungs. Just because it's low impact doesn't mean it's easier to do.
So you're still going to be huffing and puffing if you go at it pretty hard.
If you push yourself enough, yeah.
Katie, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about what kind of exercises fall into the low impact cardio realm.
Swimming, biking, there's the rower, the ski erg. Is another really good one. There's the Versa climber.
So what is the ski erg? Because you sent me that, and I'm like, this looks like a typo. It's ski and then ERG. What is that?
It mimics cross country skiing. Okay, so there are I would say, I guess you could call it ropes with handles on it. You're kind of in a standing position, and you're using your arms and your whole body to kind of go into that like cross country ski position, as like you were, like if you had poles in your hands as well. If you've ever tried it, it'll get your heart rate up for sure.
And then I think you had mentioned too the Versa climber, and I know we did an entire episode on how climbing workouts are so good. And that's just one where you kind of are on these machines and you're almost kind of Spider-Manning a little bit, right?
Yeah, and actually it's considered a zero impact cardiovascular exercise because there is no pounding on it because you're actually using your hands and your legs to actually do the movement as well.
Yeah, so, Katie, you had mentioned cycling, swimming, and rowing, which I know are three huge areas that people do a lot of. What are the big benefits that you get out of that, and how are they so low impact?
It's just not as much pounding. So the way that especially like the rower generally works is, again, you're using your arms and your legs in kind of a pulling motion. You're not in an upright position as you're also doing it. So it's kind of more of a push pull type of movement. The cycling, again, you're kind of going with your feet kind of in a pedaling motion, so your feet aren't really touching the ground, so there isn't that rebound effect that happens when you do any type of the running.
Yeah, it sounds like with all these, it's just that gravity is not our friend when it comes
No.
to doing these kind of cardio exercises.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, swimming is also another really again, probably more zero impact type of cardiovascular exercise. It's something, though, that most people don't always prefer to do because they don't really like to swim. They don't want to get wet. But, really, if you have someone that has really bad back pain or really bad knee arthritis or hip arthritis, they feel a little bit more comfortable when they do get in the water and start kind of moving around.
And what about, I know ellipticals always seem to end up on this list too. What are the benefits of hitting that?
Yeah, same thing. Kind of everything else. It does mimic essentially running without having your feet kind of leaving the ground as well. And it also, again, can also has the option to use your hands if you needed to do that as well.
Now, what about, would just walking and hiking kind of fall into the low impact category just because it's a little bit of a slower pace and less of that pounding?
Correct. Walking is still really good. The only, I wouldn't say downside of doing the walking versus some of the other ones is if you wanted to try and increase your heart rate, you can only walk so fast. Right.
Yeah.
So if you do want to truly get into some of the higher intensities, you do have to start kind of getting into the running. Whereas some of like the rower, the ski, or the Versa climber, the swimming, we can really increase the intensity a little bit more and get our heart rate up even more without having to have any of the impact of going into the running.
Well, and so much of that is, it sounds like it's just not being on your feet. I know, as you know, I run, and every time I see a video of like what your ankle looks like when you hit the pavement, it makes me wonder why I do it at all. I mean, it looks painful. I take it the key then to the low impact is to avoid that.
Yeah, but don't forget, though, there are some benefits to doing impact type movements as well, right? We're looking at bone density as being a product of that, and it's really good for our bone density. So, don't think that all high impact type movements are bad for us as well. It's also really good for our tendons, as long as they're, as long as you're running, with a correct running form, but it's not always bad either to do high impact type movements either. But no, it's not something that I would tell someone to do as they're starting out getting into the exercise, right? So sometimes the lower impact when we're first starting out is better to especially increase our cardiovascular performance, but also getting into some of that movement a little bit more as well with a lower impact on some of those areas.
Yeah, well, so you had mentioned, like I said, if you're just starting out, kind of choosing a more low impact activity might be beneficial. What other groups would benefit from going a little more low impact as opposed to a higher impact cardio exercise?
Generally, anyone with arthritis, whether, especially kind of within the foot and ankle, the knees, the hips, the back, those would be my general population that I would tend to stick with more lower impact type of movements. Anyone that has sometimes even some balance issues or balance concerns, sometimes those will be another factor into kind of doing more of the lower impact type movements. Certain diseases, require us to do more lower impact because our body doesn't like the reaction that it has after doing something at a higher impact. So we have an adverse effect when we do things at a higher impact. So the lower impact is sometimes a little bit better for those individuals as well.
Yeah, it seems like I'd imagine recovering from injury too. I mean, we've all seen the the athletes who are on IR and they're on the sidelines there, pedaling that bike.
Yeah,
It seems
actually,
like
yeah.
that's
Thanks for mentioning that because I forgot about that one. But yes, anybody who is recovering from an injury or something that you want to use as like if you are training for a marathon and you want to consider cross training, we'll see some runners also kind of doing maybe some biking intermittently in between, or maybe trying to do some swimming because we don't want to impact our joints as much. So we want to protect them, but we also want to get that cardiovascular benefit as well. So that's another reason why we would probably do something a little bit more lower impact as well.
I mean, can you get the same cardio effect doing the low impact as the high impact?
Yeah. I mean, again, depending on what you're using and how hard you push yourself. I think that's always going to be the indicator. And some of these, like the rower, the skier, the Versa climber, you probably only would see people using those for shorter periods of time versus like the walking or maybe even the elliptical because they require so much more movement in them that your heart rate is going to go through the roof when we do those types of pieces of equipment.
So it sounds like it's high intensity but low impact is kind of what you're aiming for in some of those.
Yeah, and depending on what your goal is, but and depending on what machine you generally pick, and again, how hard you push yourself.
Yeah, I'll tell you, after hearing all the benefits of low impact cardio, it makes me wonder why I'm spending so much time running and going the high impact route. But you did say there are benefits to doing the high impact, right?
Yeah, like I said, it is actually really good for our muscles and tendons that contract, relax is really good to actually preserve some of that. Now, granted, there is the point where you can do too much of it. And then also for bone density. That is actually one of the things that they recommend people with osteoporosis to do is to kind of incorporate more jumping type of movements because it regenerates the bones a little bit better.
Okay. And jumping would be more of the high impact because you have that, I guess, you're coming landing and everything like that. It's a little more jarring.
Correct.
All right. Hey, what's the right blend then? If you're going to look to mesh kind of high impact, low impact activities, it seems like trying to do both is probably a good way to go about setting up an exercise routine.
Yeah, I'm always big on making sure that we're getting a variety of everything. And that we're not always doing one piece of equipment all the time because we do want to making sure that we have good bone density, that we have good cardiovascular system, that we have good strength, that we have, all the things that we want to be able to have, regular good quality of life. Right. So in order to do that, we have to have a very versatile type of workout program.
How much of an effect does age have on that? Because I know, speaking for myself, I'm starting to look around at races, and there are not as many people older than me there. I know I see a lot of them on the trail, and a lot of them are pedaling their way up and down now. Is that something as you age a little bit, you need to kind of reconsider how you're dividing up your cardio workout?
So I don't actually put age as an indicator for any type of exercise. It's based on your ability level. So for someone, again, like you, who's been running for long periods of time, maybe, I don't know if you have any, injuries kind of going on at this point.
I'm always injured. Yeah, that's what I tell my wife. I got something hurting always.
Well, I mean, then that would be a good reason to maybe kind of alternate some of the workouts with lower impact and higher impact. But then maybe we need to talk about your strength program as well. So that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. there is that. So yeah, there are some things. Right now, I just get enough of that KT tape and I just put it all over the place.
We'll duck it up. A
little duct tape. I'm good to go. I go right back out there. So it sounds like then it just really is a good game plan to try to get some of this low impact cardio in. I know I've been trying to bike a little more, do that because you do feel better after doing it. You can get a nice long ride in or something like that, and maybe not feel as beat up as if you did a long run.
Yeah. Again, I think that just becomes with that variety. No, I don't think most of us should be running, 7, 6, 5, 6, 7 days a week. So, on those alternating days, it's always good to kind of throw in those lower impact type activities. I also think running gait has a really big impact on it as well. They've done a lot of research to say, there are some people that still run into their 80s, right? And, I'm not saying there are no injuries, but, they probably have some aches and pains, but, it doesn't always create arthritis, but I think the running gait and the running form is actually what, negates some of that for some people, and having good form, just as if you were doing any weightlifting or, doing any, other type of exercise, that we want to making sure that we're doing it correctly.
Yeah. Now, we went through some of the cardio things, low impact cardio activities you could do. We touched on some of the big ones. I think we left a couple of them off that I had written down. How effective is shadow boxing? I was kind of surprised to see that on the list.
Yeah, it's not something you generally see. I would probably see that with somebody who's probably working with a personal trainer, that they're trying to kind of mix things up a little bit. I kind of think is shadow boxing is like the Taibo of today as well, which was always really popular to do. And some people really do like to do kind of more of the martial arts aspect of it as well. You can also look at maybe even using some battle ropes. Which again, you're only going to be able to use for a short period of time. Maybe you throw it in between some other types of exercises you're doing within the weight room, but that's where you're going to get those really heavy ropes, and you're going to kind of alternate them between your hands and kind of make some waves with the rope. That's also going to be something else that's going to increase your heart rate as well.
Yeah. See, I always thought of those as like more of a strength workout, but I guess
you do tired. Yeah.
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 Well, you can see where you get out of breath, because that is, it does look like a workout doing it.
Yeah. Especially if you have somebody that's generally kind of, again, has more of the lower extremity type of arthritis or pain. That's where we would probably use a little bit more of the upper body type of work as well.
What about calisthenics? I mean, for people who don't have equipment or things like that, it seems like body weight sort of activities are always a good way to get a workout in. Is there some sort of low impact cardio there?
There's modified versions of like a burpee, or modified versions of like a mountain climber that you can do. There's modified versions for jumping jacks, where, with the jumping jacks, you're going to step your feet out versus kind of jumping from side to side, and you're still going to wave your hands over your head. The modified burpee, there's different variations to that one. I know people love burpees, so I'm sure they're excited to try some modified versions of some burpees as well.
Favorite exercise. Yeah, people line up to do it.
I'm gonna have people out, calling me up. Like, how do I do a modified burpee?
Well, how do you? Let's walk through that. What is the best way if you're going to do a modified burpee? Because I know a lot of people try to avoid the regular ones. Maybe the modified one sounds a little better. So how would we do a modified burpee?
So the modified burpee, you're either going to probably need a bench or a chair, a couch, or something like that, where you're actually going to place your hands onto that, and then you're going to step your feet back, and then kind of step your feet forward again. And then, you can raise your hands over your head before you go back down, putting your hands up onto the chair or the bench. Okay. Or you can do it onto the ground still, if you're still comfortable getting it, on and off the ground. You're not going to kick your feet back and forward. You're just going to slowly walk your feet back, slowly walk your feet forward, and then you're going to stand up on up.
And plus, you're right by the couch for when you're done.
When you're done with one of them, yes.
Yeah, an added perk. So I think we've covered like all the bases here, Katie. So anything else to add when people are kind of thinking about adding some low impact cardio to their routine?
I always tell people to try different things. I do think that different pieces of equipment, some people are going to love. Other pieces of equipment, some people are going to, absolutely hate. So I think you've mentioned before, maybe swimming wasn't necessarily your favorite, if I remember correctly. I don't know if I'm right or not.
It is not. Okay.
So. But we're still always going to draw towards the things that we like to do. So especially if there's a piece of equipment that you don't mind using or really actually like to use, you will still make the time to do it. So if it's something you absolutely hate doing, I wouldn't even, try or not try it, but I wouldn't even consider using it on a regular basis. But you have to try it to see if you're going to like it or not.
Well, and it sounds like the key with anything is if you're doing something, you're better off than doing nothing.
So much. Yes.
Yeah. Staying active is the key to everything health, from what we've heard with every talk we've ever had.
Every time.
Well, Katie, thanks again for coming in and doing your part to keep us all moving a little bit more. And can't wait to have you in again.
All right. Thanks, John.
Low-impact workouts like cycling, swimming, and rowing offer many of the health benefits you want from cardio exercise without excess wear and tear on your body. Building them into your exercise routine may be the secret to lasting fitness. If you liked what you heard today, please hit the subscribe button and leave a comment to share your thoughts. Until next time, be well.